Yo, what's good? This is the second week of season 60. We did start 3-0 this season, so that means this week we're gonna have some like really tough matchups since we start like 4th on the leaderboard. So yeah, the first one's a new nation, and I'm bringing in Captain Britain. No, I'm bringing Havok. That's the name. I'm bringing Havok in for this war for 2 fights, one of which is this Captain of Britain. My first fight was a very trivial, like, Galan Iron Man Infinity War. I just skipped over that. You know, don't really need to watch that. This next fight is this Cap Britain, which I'm using Havok for. I was told she dies before I do if I just spam memes, and 20 seconds in, yeah, that does sound right. I did put a Wags on, which I'm not sure does anything, because the plasmas are already debuffs, and look at this, I'm at 99 stacks already, so like, I don't think the Wags did anything, but sure. And yeah, I'm taking down a lot, but at least Cap Britain is also taking down a lot more, since those plasmas do some damage. Yeah, but she's dead in a minute, so pretty easy fight, just don't get hit, and you lose like 30% of your health, but it's not that big of a deal. So yeah. Next fight is a Stryfe on 21 with Galan. Zero clue why Stryfe is here, but hey, diversity points, right? Yeah, this fight goes decently smoothly. Galan's nice here since you can just time a harvest trigger so that, oh, yep, and I get hit. Exactly. You can time a harvest trigger like that so that I can ignore the stun, encroaching stun without having to throw a special attack, which is very nice. But yeah, the one thing that Stryfe is like, the one trick that Stryfe has is just that miss, which I literally got caught, so, you know, I can't say that Stryfe is a bad defender, right? See, if I didn't dex the SP2, I would have been dead. And there, I used a relic to get myself out of encroaching stun, which is very convenient, and I just throw the SP1 here. My Stopple didn't trigger, so I thought my harvest didn't trigger because Stryfe might have glanced the hit, but it went through, so yeah, fight's done. Took a little beating, but it's alright. This next fight is a Solvarch on Safeguard. Galan completely mogs this placement, so it's not too much to say. All I have to do is just play around. I'm playing very diligently around the combat deja vu, and just gonna get to SB2. With Solvarch, you generally don't want to inflict energy damage, but he does not punish energy damage dealt by cosmics. So, and what he does with energy damage is he ramps his core charges up, and then when he switches modes back to his absorb mode, he will get a lot of armors, and that's what I've been using to get like 800 harvest charges. So he goes down in 1 SP1 after the first SP2, which is very convenient. Yeah, pretty quick fight. My last fight this war is against this Yelena on 43, and I'm using Havok again. The main idea here is that I just eat the shock damage. Well, eat like 1 or 2 shocks and let the plasmas slowly build up and kill Yelena before I die. And also the risk in this fight is just to not get hit by special attacks, since aggression prowess will make those, even the SP1s, hurt a lot. Here I have 2 shocks on me. I'm taking down a little bit, but Yelena is taking out a lot more than I am, so that's all that I really need to like keep track of so that I don't die. And also just not get hit, which isn't too bad. I think I put on invuln for this fight, which I totally didn't need to. I think my concern was just how much damage I was going to take before she dies. So yeah, just put on invuln to be safe in case I messed up and this fight like was gonna drag out a long time. Here I used my SP3, purely because I thought it would do more damage, but it did a total of a fun 5%. That's probably because I like had no plasmas on her, like plasma built-ups on her, which like didn't make my SP3 do no damage. But at least the nice thing is that it pushed her over the 50% threshold, so I don't have to trigger it with a basic attack. That way she doesn't go into elimination mode, which even if she did, it would probably be fine. But yeah, that just made the fight go more smoothly. And she's at 14%. I'm just gonna bait out this SP1. Well, maybe not, because I want to just stay in shock phase. Well, hit into shock phase, get some shocks, and she dies mid SP1. Very safe option, I think. Just like Havok isn't really someone you would actively assign. Just that at least the cap Britain was there, and that helped out a lot. And yeah, this next war is against GT40. They're probably the favorites to get War Champ, since New Nation, since right after this war we figured out that like New Nation actually doesn't need to, or is it this war or the next war, that New Nation doesn't really need to play since they just automatically get rank 1 rewards. Great Kabam decision. This is no 3 Vision, and I'm using this fun champ called Arnim Zola for this fight. Yeah, Zola's good for this fight matchup because he has immunity to bleed and also immunity to ability accuracy reduction, so he can kind of get around this glancing. The glancing will not affect his disintegrations not being inflicted. The only concern about this fight was during planning was that the glancing still reduces your attack rating on that hit. So if she is attacking, or if she was glancing every hit, my disintegrations will also do less damage. And that was almost a concern until this loops comes in and wiped out like 60% of her health. So I was very confident, like I was pretty confident in this. And I'm just gonna need to bait out this next SP2 and this fight's over. Yeah, Zola's unironically one of the better options against this Viv. The other options were like Sentinel having to heavy spam, or else he won't gain power. Or like Scream at max sig. So Zola being like a champ that a lot of people already have for Battlegrounds is very nice. And next fight is just gonna go very quick. It's just 12 Enchantress, very basic Spider-Woman fight. Well, I get hit, but like very safe Spider-Woman fight. It's almost impossible to die here. I'm punching up too, like unduped. It's very, very hard to die. I will note though, if it's hard to like route a Spider-Woman, you could actually just use Arnim Zola for this fight. He's not the greatest option, but he's like decently safe because he is immune to ability accuracy, combat power rate reduction outside of his own. So he completely ignores strike counter, which is nice. And then he can special lock the Enchantress' SP1, so that you can only bait SP3s, since she doesn't have an SP2 until she throws 2 SP1s, which is very nice. I've done that fight last season, so Zola's actually a nice way to get past having to use 2 different champs here, if you need. But I found a way to route Spider-Woman for other fights, and this is another one. No 27 Werewolf. Yeah, Spider-Woman is kind of really good on Hazard Shift if she has at least 1 immunity, because the Ensnare does just help shut down a lot of the extra damage from the other immunity. So it's kind of like you can kind of hit into both immunities. Here the next fight is Node 36, Hazard Shift, 1 Eye Open, Solvarch. Again, the same plan was, this plan is the same as what I did for another 30 last war, except I want to get this fight over as soon as possible, since Hazard Shift will end up just killing me. Here I use PS1 to get a head start, and look at that, he gains 19 armor from throwing SB2 and while having 9 incinerates on him. So here I'm just gonna throw in as heavy, I think. I'm trying to bait out. Yeah, I'm just trying to bait out a heavy. Yep, there we go. And then ramp a little bit more, I think. And then throw the SB1. Yep. And that should kill. Nope, that does not. He's left at like a couple %, which I just go in. I think he has some really bad RNG here on his incinerates, but I'll make sure I finish. Like, just gonna throw the SB1, the harvest is gonna expire, and he is dead. The last like couple of seconds took a lot of health off me, which makes the fight look more sus than it actually is, which it's alright, as long as you don't get hit, it goes very fast. Alright, next fight for GT4 against GT40. This is 38 Shocker. I put on Invuln just because Shocker can do some crazy Shocker things. And yeah, and stunching you, but as long as I don't get hit, which easier said than done, especially against Shocker, this fight should be fine. I also do have the Harvest to make sure I have the Unstoppable and not be able to get stunching, which is nice. I wasn't sure that how the Harvest interacted with Ebb and Flow knockdown, since Ebb and Flow is like 14 seconds, and so was the Harvest. So I was not sure which one, if the Harvest damage would go through right before the protection comes back up. So I just throw the SP2 there. It brings him down to 40%, which is nice. That means I don't have to do too much to get the last couple % out of him, which I should throw an SP1 here soon. Yes, and that gives me 570 Harvest charge, and that kills. I did prepare to be in that fight for longer, but that was just under a minute, which is very convenient. Did not get hit, which is nice, so I don't have to, you know, fear the stun chain. And here, the last fight, I decided to boost up to full SWoman versus Zola. SWoman is very safe. Well, SWoman can do this fight very well. It's just that mine's rank 3 and unawakened, so I would be losing out on a lot of damage if I'm consuming my buffs to get passives. Like after throwing the SP1, I wouldn't have any of those passives, so I decided to full boost to make sure I don't die to just like either getting hit or just having being slow, or anything that happens, because it feels very volatile this fight. And yeah, I'm doing decently here, knocking down Zola as I need, but then I try to go for an intercept and I instead get slapped by the SP1, and there goes my Invuln. So now I gotta be careful to like not get hit more, which is again easier said than done. But yeah, I'm gonna push Zola more to these SP2 because I want to get to have the power sting and retribution on. I do want to get as much power sting damage as I can. Since again time is a concern in this fight, since mine's again rank 3 unduped, I do not have nearly as much damage as a rank 4. And I'm trying to get this heavy punish, but I think he throws like a light before the heavy, and that gimps me, and that doesn't make me get the spacing for the heavy punish. Here I go for the relic, heavy again. Gonna throw it off the SP2 soon, I think. Yep. Just under 3 bars of power so that I can cycle back to more SP1s, since again I need to be fast here, as well as not dying. So yeah, knock down again, and then throw the SP1, just so, because I'm not exactly sure how many hits the SP1 has. Better safe than sorry. I do 2 light attack whiffs to get the spacing for the heavy punish, and I think if I could, I would have thrown an SP1 there, but nope. Disintegration, reduce my counter power rate. Gotta throw another SP1. I think I go for a relic, yes, and that gives me an easy opening to knock down, and I'm hoping he throws the SP2 there, which he just barely does, and that does a lot of damage to him, which is good. So I did throw I did get 2 SP1 cycle and fading SP2 cycles in one retribution, which is ideal. But now, I'm not exactly winning the HP race as much as I wanted, so this is getting a little bit sus. Back on the SP2, I dex to refresh my Furies. I throw this SP2. I'm hoping to stay aggressive and be able to end the fight right here. I would need 2 SP1s, I'm pretty sure. But yeah. All while I'm talking, I still need to make sure the ESP charges are under control. So there's a lot of things to think about here. But yeah. That one power sting from him throwing SP2 took him down to 2%, which is very close, but I do need to make sure I don't want to get hit by the ESP, because if that happens, I'm most likely dead. I'm definitely dead if I get hit again, because ESP charges are high. But yeah, I just throw SP1 here, and the shocks kill at 1%, which is very nice. So yeah, I get the boss solo, 3.5 minutes, within rank 3 undue Spider-Woman, which is kind of impressive of her, to be honest, that she can do that. Yeah, we did obviously lose against Nation and GT, but trying to secure our 4th win against 2-1-1. Yeah, the team I brought in, I think, is Silk, Shocker, and Spider-Woman. Shocker's there for just one fight, as we'll see later. But for most of this, I think Silk will be running the show. My rank 4 Silk combined with rank 4 Shocker. They have a very nice energy, providing damage over time debuffs, and in Silk's case, the ruptures do actually scale with her physical vulnerabilities. So the more debuffs I stack, the more the rupture damage actually does, which is also very nice. Here I just get cornered by Sassy's Wrath, but it's really not a big deal as the Wrath is ending and she doesn't have that much power. And I think here I just go for the SP2 nuke. And yeah, finish it off there. Yeah, Silk and Shocker go very well together. And Shocker himself can also take a couple of fights, which you'll see later. But again, node 5 Sassy with Silk, and node 14 with Shocker, again with Silk. I just have to make sure this fight, I react quickly enough to parries, and also heavy attacks. Charging heavy. If I wait too long, Shocker is most definitely going to punish me. Intercept's also a little bit sketchy because, again, Shocker can just perma-stun you, and that's basically the only way to die is getting hit. So yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I'm safe and that I kill him, which I do with that SP2 into the Relic Intercept. Again, I thought that fight would have been longer, but I think I overestimate Shocker's HP pool, which is probably a good thing since he is a force to be reckoned with if you're not paying attention. Yeah, this Rintrah fight is on fisticuffs, node 24. I just don't get buffs in the first 30 seconds, which is whatever. It just slows down the fight. Spider-Woman is immune to neutralize, so Rintrah literally cannot do anything in the fight. Not even a tactic, because Spider-Woman's tactic, and yeah, Rintrah kind of just dies. Nothing much to be said. This champ is pretty good. This next fight is 33 Enchantress, again with Spider-Woman. I was a little bit scared, or I was a little bit concerned that power gain is going to go a little bit out of control. But then I realized, and also the prowess puncture, that could be a lot of block damage. And then I realized I am Spider-Woman, and my debilitates just shut down all spells, so I don't even need to bother with them, which I still do, obviously. But even if something goes wrong, then she gets a little bar power and throws it, I won't get punished, so I don't really have to worry. Yeah, gonna just knock him down. Again, trying to do his spells, which I don't have to. And then I'm just gonna throw the SP2. Yep, get the Retribution up, and throw my SP1, which I get in there just in time so that Conflictor doesn't proc. Except I somehow dex, and that placed a debuff on her. Was that a Wither maybe? I'm not sure, but that got her 3 bars in it. That was a little bit concerning, but her SP3 doesn't do too much since she didn't have any prowess. So I came out of that alive, which is good. And then I just bait another SP2, I think, to get the fight over with. Where is SP1? Yeah, SP1, and she's dead. This fight used to be a lot more sus, but now SWoman kind of just runs the show. So yeah. This is node 37. Next fight is node 37 Sentinel. I'm using Silk here. I know some people are concerned about this matchup because Sentinel has a lot of crit resistance, and a lot of your damage is in the basic combos that also are leading up to the big SP2. If you're doing an SP3 to SP2 cycle, you're not gonna nuke down fast enough. Is some people's concern. Sentinel's gonna do his thing with those SP3 or something. But no, Silk does do damage, a lot of damage in fact, and his SP2 also, her SP2 also just has that Sunder, and it does a lot of damage, and it has a regular crit chance. So this fight, the only real thing to worry about this fight is the roots. Just making sure that you don't get caught by it, and also going in right after Sentinel is rooted. Well, going in right after is heavy, and then throw the SP3 right after the roots has gone on Sentinel, so that I can do this full SP3 SP2 cycle without getting rooted. And yeah, even the ruptures are taking for 2k or something. Yeah, they're taking a lot from all these physical vulnerabilities, and I did not even need the SP2. So, Silk with powerbacks, pretty good champion, I would say. The next fight is probably my favorite of all 6 wars this season, and that's 43 Bullseye with Shocker. I'm coming in with a War Machine pre-fight that cleanses. That way I can actually use a Power Start 1 boost and get Power Start. And then the game plan here is to throw the SP1s off the rip. If I get an Incinerate, it's alright. I have a cleanse, so I can at least cleanse one of them. And then let the prowesses ramp up and hit Bullseye during the shock phase to remove those prowesses. I did manage to time my the Bullseye SP1 to Incinerate, so I can both wait out the Incinerate phase and debate an SP1, which is good timing. And then here I'm just hitting to remove his prowess and just going in because I have 100 charges already, because Shocker ramps from the prowess passives on this node. And yeah, 2 SP1s, 100 charges, prowess, and he drops dead in 1 minute. Just under. Pretty fun fight, if I don't say so myself. Yeah. Since Kushala and Sinister are banned, I'm trying to find other counters to that fight, so... Shocker's kind of clean. Just have to bait 1 SP1, and that's all the brisk there is to that fight. Well, and getting hit, of course, but that's all the guaranteed risk in that fight. And in 46, well, this is 46 count Nefaria, so I play terribly. I try to go for an intercept, start with live attack, it did not work, and I just get hit by the SP2, which also not good. I'm losing half my health, but I throw out the SP3. I think I just started with the PS1 anyways, because that carried over. I didn't bother to change the inlong, which, usually I should have, but yeah. SP3 rotation and SP2 just kills. This champion is very good, if I haven't said that enough. And yeah, Silk finishes up this week. We did win this fight. We did win this war. So yeah, we're 4-2 this season. I am still deathless. I think I have like 37 fights and counting. And yeah, hopefully I go deathless for the rest of the season. Bye. See you next time.